Boom. Now at 11, breaking news. Our first look at that explosion that led to a full-on inferno at a Contra Costa County fuel facility.
Plus, another earthquake rattles the Bay Area tonight. What the USGS is saying about the possibility of an even bigger quake.
And face-off in Ohio, age and impeachment take center stage at the largest presidential primary debate the U.S. has ever seen. Good evening. I'm Ken Bastida.
I'm Juliette Goodrich in for Veronica. We begin with that breaking news out of Contra Costa County. A fuel tank inferno at the NewsStar facility in Crockett is finally contained tonight after burning more than 8 hours.
And just in, we are getting some incredible new video we have to show you. This shows the moments it all started. Take a look. Yeah, you can see the flames shooting up into the air, and that massive explosion, that tank goes sailing up into the sky. This is thousands of pounds of steel. Witnesses shot this video. This guy was driving away from the inferno. The question tonight, how could this happen? And did last night's earthquake in Pleasant Hill have anything to do with it?
Well, Chopper 5 is live over the fuel facility right now. What a difference a couple of hours makes. Tonight, a shelter in place for Rodeo, Crockett, and Hercules has been lifted, and Interstate 80 is back open after a portion of it was shut down for hours. The fire burned and destroyed 2 storage tanks with 250,000 gallons of ethanol inside.
We have team coverage for you tonight. First, Andrea Borba, who is live at the scene with some new information from fire officials. Andrea?
Well, Ken and Juliette, we know now that this fire is officially contained, but fire crews will remain here overnight, continually putting water and foam on top of the ethanol that has leaked out of those 2 storage containers to make sure we don't have any more flare-ups here in Crockett. This is what the NewsStar refinery and tank farm looked like from a nearby hillside at 6:55, glowing and burning dangerously close to tanks of ethanol and jet fuel when a flare-up occurred more than 5 hours after the initial explosion. The initial explosion affected 2 tanks of ethanol that held a combined 250,000 gallons of the fuel additive. Firefighters were battling spot fires on the grass, intense heat from the fuel tanks, and tight spaces around the equipment.
It's a fairly limited, it's a fairly constricted space down there. Hard to get a lot of apparatus in. We've had to change out some apparatus.
The fire sent plumes of thick black smoke miles into the sky that could be seen from around the Bay Area. The fire would seemingly become under control and then flare again.
I don't know exactly what happened, but in some way that foam blanket must have been compromised, allowing oxygen to get to the fuel, and because of the heat and the flames down there, it rekindled.
The first fire company on scene was Crockett Fire, who trains at this refinery every year and completed inspections on a new loading dock a few months ago.
This refinery does not have its own fire department or fire brigade. They have fixed equipment at scene in case of such an emergency. These are large water appliances and such.
Late this evening, via email, NewsStar confirmed to KPIX 5 that they were looking into whether last night's 4.5 earthquake in Pleasant Hill affected their equipment and caused the explosion and fire. Now, we learned tonight there was a contractor very nearby to those tanks when they exploded. He had to dive into a diversion ditch to avoid getting burned to death. He escaped. Eventually, he had to be helped out, but he is okay and uninjured tonight, Ken.
I'm Joe Vasquez, driving along I-80 East and the streets around it, just trying to get around tonight, and it has been an exercise in patience and futility, and it's an example of going nowhere fast. I-80 started getting closed in the early evening. Traffic was diverted into neighborhoods nearby. Our phone told us that taking a shortcut would save time, but really nothing could save you time. It was standstill traffic for hours and hours.
I'm trying to get home. It's taking me 45 minutes to get home from Richmond to Pinole.
Here you can see police blocking the entrance ramp to I-80 East toward the fire. Tonight, folks just venturing out to go shopping were stuck in the jam.
It's been tough. It took me over an hour to go from Target 2 exits down.
About an hour ago, they opened up I-80 in both directions. Hopefully that's good news and a lot less hassle for the morning commute. Joe Vasquez, KPIX 5.
Chopper 5 over the fuel facility tonight. And again, firefighters will be working to put out all hot spots all night long. But the shelter in place has been lifted in Rodeo, Hercules, and Crockett. Air monitoring is going on right now. And they advise residents to open their doors and windows to air things out. And as you can see, Interstate 80 and the freeway there is moving right along. Now here's some background on New Star facility in Crockett. It has a total of 24 tanks. Materials inside include gasoline, diesel, aviation fuel, and ethanol. Now stay with us for the very latest on this fire and the investigation on KPIX.com. All right, under our other big story tonight, more rattled nerves after yet another Bay Area earthquake.
Yeah, the latest tremor, a magnitude 3.4, hit less than 24 hours after last night's jolt. It was centered in Pleasant Hill. KPIX 5 reporter Betty Yu is live in the newsroom with what USGS is saying tonight. Betty?
Ken and Juliet, we've learned that the epicenter of this latest quake in Pleasant Hill is at Contra Costa Boulevard and Gregory Lane. That's a shopping center near the downtown area there. Now, USGS says that there was a 2% chance of one or more aftershocks larger than yesterday's quake over the next week. They also added that there could be as many as 4 aftershocks of magnitude 3 or higher.
I felt the one last night, and I felt the one about, 2 hours ago. It was,
So what's your reaction?
I got scared both times.
I felt the one last night. I didn't feel the one today because I work in Livermore, and yeah, I think I was commuting back from work when that one happened.
Well, this follows last night's magnitude earthquake that was widely felt with the epicenters in the Pleasant Hill and Walnut Creek areas. You can see bottles knocked over in a grocery store there. And we received a lot of video from homeowners and their Ring cameras showing pets scampering about. And we also saw some reaction on social media to that quake. Now, weak shaking was felt in areas including San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose, according to USGS. This afternoon, there was a magnitude 4.7 quake that hit near Hollister along the San Andreas fault line, and this is happening 2 days before the anniversary of the 1989 Loma Prieta quake, which hit on the same fault line 30 years ago. In the newsroom, I'm Betty Yu.
Well, a dozen Democratic contenders crowded a stage tonight, and Senator Elizabeth Warren, who has surged in recent polls, took some heat from her peers. Natalie Brand reports live now in Ohio for us. Natalie.
Hi, Juliet. Well, Senator Warren definitely entered tonight's debate with new momentum given her boost in those new polls. That certainly made her a target on the debate stage tonight. That was one new dynamic. This was also the first debate since the impeachment inquiry formally launched.
Presidential candidates are at their...
Right off the bat, all 12 candidates on stage agreed they support the impeachment inquiry against President Trump over his effort to have Ukraine investigate Joe Biden and his son Hunter. The former vice president was then pressed about his son's business dealings in Ukraine.
My son did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. This is about Trump's corruption.
But Biden did not draw criticism from his peers. Instead, it was fellow frontrunner Senator Elizabeth Warren who took heat, particularly over her Medicare for All plan.
No plan has been laid out to explain how a multi-trillion-dollar hole in this Medicare for All plan that Senator Warren is putting forward is supposed to get filled in.
Costs are going to go up for the wealthy. They're going to go up for big corporations. They will not go up for middle-class families.
The difference between a plan and a pipe dream is something that you can actually get done. And we can get this public option done.
The candidates also differed on how to improve the nation's jobs picture.
We could put 15 million people to work rebuilding our roads, our bridges, our water systems.
Most Americans do not want to work for the federal government.
Some of the candidates are still trying to stand out in a crowded Democratic field. And here in Ohio, they're also trying to reach out to voters in a state President Trump easily won in 2016.
Ohio is losing jobs under Donald Trump. He has broken his promises to Ohio and the industrial Midwest.
Hedge fund billionaire Tom Steyer got the chance to introduce himself to viewers and tried to unify Democrats.
Every candidate here is more decent, more coherent, and more patriotic than the criminal in the White House.
2/3 of the candidates on this stage have already qualified for the next debate.
Tonight's debate also marked the first major appearance by Senator Bernie Sanders since being treated for his heart attack. When pressed on his health, he teased ahead to his next major rally and said he would be campaigning vigorously across the country. Juliet?
Nothing's going to stop him right now. Well, Natalie, did Senator Kamala Harris have any standout moments?
Well, Senator Harris entered tonight's debate down in recent polls. She did try to create a moment for herself tonight by raising the issue of women's reproductive rights, asking moderators why this wasn't brought up as an issue during last debate. And we saw that that has generated some buzz, attracting support on stage and also on social media tonight. Juliet?
All right, Natalie Brand. Natalie, thank you.
This just in, PG&E says that it has identified more than 100 incidents of damage during last week's safety power shutoff. Take a look at this. Wind gusts exceeded 50 miles per hour in some areas, knocking tree limbs into power lines, knocked some lines down altogether. In Santa Clara County, a few large tree branches fell through lines connected to a house. PG&E says that these incidents of damage represent potential sources of wildfire ignition, what they were trying to avoid. Meanwhile, the utilities teams continue to review and inspect more than 25,000 miles of distribution line.
A new survey reveals an alarming number of women are victims of sexual misconduct at Stanford. The Chronicle reports that nearly 40% of Stanford undergrads say they were forced into sex against their will or experienced inappropriate touching. The average rate at other campuses is 26%. Stanford disputes those numbers but says the report is a call to action. The provost wrote in a letter to the campus, in confronting sexual violence and harassment, we face a chronic public health issue. Despite many efforts at Stanford over the years, it is evident that much more needs to be done. Coming up, a desperate housewife goes to prison. What's in store for Felicity Huffman as she starts her sentence for the college admissions scandal right here in the Bay Area?
And a routine rideshare pickup puts one driver in the middle of a criminal investigation. She tells her wild story.
And we continue to follow breaking news tonight, a fuel facility explosion in Contra Costa County. We have an update when we come back.
I want to bring you back live to the scene of that tanker explosion and fire that rocked the Crockett area. Burned for more than 8 hours. You can see that damaged tank on the right there. The good news is there's no more smoke coming off of this thing and no more fire that we can see. But firefighters tell us that they will continue to pump water and foam on that area just to be sure throughout the night. They are not backing off. They're going to keep watch on this thing. Now, here's the latest on that breaking news that we've been following all night long.
Yeah, crews have contained a fuel tanker fire at the New Star facility, as you saw. And tonight, for the first time, we're seeing how it all started. Quite some video. A witness shot that video as he was driving away. 2 storage tanks with thousands of gallons of ethanol inside were destroyed. The fire also threatened 3 nearby tanks containing jet fuel and ethanol. Now, there were several flare-ups, including this big one right around 7 tonight. Right now, the fire is contained. A shelter in place has been lifted for Rodeo, Crockett, and Hercules. And Interstate 80 is back open in both directions between Highway 4 and the Carquinez Bridge.
Also tonight, a desperate housewife is now housed in a Bay Area prison cell. Tonight, actress Felicity Huffman is in the Federal Correctional Institution in Dublin, which some have called Club Fed. KPIX 5's Veronica Dela Cruz has that story.
Dublin is almost a camp. It's not surrounded by razor wire or anything like that. It is a place where minimum security prisoners enjoy the luxury of being minimum security prisoners. They don't present a high risk of escape.
Tony Brass is a former federal prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney.
I've had clients in Dublin. Dublin is known as a pretty good place to go if you have to serve prison time.
Elizabeth, how do you feel about going to jail?
A federal judge in Boston sentenced Huffman last month to 14 days in prison for paying to have her daughter's SAT scores boosted. She must also pay a $30,000 fine, perform 250 hours of community service, and serve a year of probation.
Now, the Dublin facility has housed a number of famous inmates, including kidnapped newspaper heiress Patty Hearst and Hollywood madam Heidi Fleiss.
Well, he was on the lam for nearly 2 decades, and tonight a former Bay Area tech executive is facing charges of investment fraud. Walter Konezader, a German national and former vice president of Informix, appeared in federal court today. The database software maker was based in Menlo Park in the 90s. Now, he was arrested 2 months ago at a tourist destination in the Indian Ocean.
New tonight, a Stockton Lyft driver becomes an unsuspecting getaway driver when she picks up a hit-and-run suspect. Reporter Ryan Hill spoke with the driver about her wild night.
The guy seemed kind of anxious. You know, he seemed like desperate to go home.
Marisa Rulas says that she drove past Stockton police investigating a hit and run at Lever Boulevard and Hawaii Avenue on her way to pick up a rider. But she says she had no idea the man who got in her car was a suspect wanted by police. She quickly found out when she was stopped by officers just a few minutes later.
Once I got pulled over and how he was acting, I kind of already knew, like, obviously they're looking for him.
Police tell CBS 13 that investigators heard the suspect involved in the crash had been picked up by Rulas, fleeing the scene.
The minute we drove off from that house, he was done for.
Police say Michael Magdaleno and Colissa Roots were arrested on suspicion of hit and run. A spokesperson with Stockton PD says that this is the first time he's ever heard of anything like this happening.
I don't know what was going through his mind. I don't know how desperate he was, so I don't know what he was willing to do once we got away from that area.
Rulas says she'll still be taking on riders.
It's just like any other job, you know, you have a risk and all kinds of stuff. I mean, you could work at a liquor store and somebody come in and rob you.
And she'll have the tale of this ride to keep her passengers entertained.
Now I got a story to tell and my rides won't be so quiet.
That was Ryan Hill reporting. Stockton police say they'll not have to think about suspects calling a rideshare company to get away from a crime scene.
All right, let's go to meteorologist Darren Peck now with an approaching storm, but a small one, right?
It's a good way to put it, Juliet. And two things stand out with that huge spinning mass of clouds back there behind me in the Pacific. It looks impressive, but here are the two things. We've got a chance for light rain Wednesday night late and early Thursday morning, like when most of us will be asleep. It'll be before sunrise Thursday morning and after midnight Wednesday night. Chance of light rain. I think the bigger impact from this big spinning mass of clouds, you're going to notice Thursday is breezy and cool. That's the main impact from this. But if we play the futurecast forward, let's bring in the leading edge of rain, and they're going to stop it right here on the wide view. That gets us ahead to tomorrow night. Let's come in for a higher resolution view on this. Get rid of the clouds so we can see it all clearly. That's tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. Spotty showers for the North Bay. Not a lot here, but I'll play it into the overnight hours, and by the time we've gotten to midnight, same story. It's spitting in isolated places on here, and by the time we get to about 5 a.m., it's gone. So another way to look at this is to see where the rain's going to fall. You can actually measure it. See any? It's a few. We can't go by this exactly, but the general takeaway is here. More likely to pick up a little bit of measurable rain in the North Bay, less likely down here in the South Bay. That's it. When you wake up for your drive to work on Thursday, maybe you notice a little bit of rain on the sidewalk. Should not impact your drive. What will you notice more? The aftermath of that storm, because when it leaves, we're going to start to feel the cooler north winds come in behind it. And these will be northwesterly winds. Totally different from the wind event that was such a big deal last week. Those were dry, warm northeast winds. These will be cool, wet, and chilly northwest winds coming in from a storm that's even going to drop maybe a little bit of light rain. So it's not a fire weather concern, but it makes Thursday feel like fall. Even though you're not going to see it in the temperatures. Look at the 7-day forecast when we get there, and you'll see the temperatures don't really stand out. By the way, there's tomorrow. San Jose, you'll hit 71. San Rafael's going to 70. And we'll see the temperatures at pretty much average for this time of year, maybe a little bit cooler tomorrow. But when you look at the 7-day forecast, the temperatures on Thursday in the low to mid 70s inland don't tell you the whole story because it's going to be breezy. and that breezy will make it feel cool. Mary's going to have a lot more on that coming up tomorrow morning, right here, starting at 4:30, and Gianna's going to get you through the drive tomorrow morning as well.
All right. Thank you, Darren.
Sure.
All right, well, coming up, the updates coming to the Clipper card that could be a big hallelujah for commuters.
All right, commuters, listen up. If you leave your Clipper card home, soon you will be able to swipe a ride with your smartphone.
Android users will be able to add Clipper cards to their phones and skip the line at the add fare machine. The service will let you open the fare gates with just a tap without having to open an app or unlock the phone. So for weary commuters, that is a welcome change.
Anything that can improve the system is welcome, because now you forget your card, you show up at the train station, if you buy a pass, you always have to look for the machine, so you can just pull it out and be on your way.
Okay, still no word on when the phone pay service will roll out or if it comes to iPhones, but Clipper Card is planning a major overhaul for all users in the next few years.
There you go.
Yeah.
Dennis O'Donnell doesn't need a card. He just walks right into these places and talks about sports.
Little quiz for you guys and their viewers at home. Can you name the only team never to punch their ticket to the World Series? Got 2 minutes to figure it out, and why nobody was watching the debate in Washington, D.C. We're up next. Coming into the night, the Nationals and Mariners were the only teams never to reach the World Series. And now Seattle stands alone. The Baby Shark is the Nationals' good luck charm, and it was circling the waters tonight. Bottom one, already 2-0 Washington. With the bases juiced, Victor Robles pop up. There's 3 Cardinals. They all let it drop. That scored a run. Nationals scored 7 runs in the first inning. 8th inning, St. Louis cut it to 7-4. Bags full. Daniel Hudson got Matt Carpenter ground out to end the inning. And the Nationals won 7-4 to sweep the series. D.C. is going to host the World Series for the first time since FDR's first year in the Oval Office. Astros starter Garrett Cole, 7 shutout innings in Game 3 against the Yankees. He got all the run support he needed in the second from a former athletic Josh Reddick. Tell it bye-bye, baby. Solo blast in the second deck. Houston won 4-1, and they lead that series now 2-1. NFL, the Rams traded cornerback and McClymon's star Marcus Peters to the Ravens. L.A. then made another deal, acquiring Jalen Ramsey, the all-pro corner who wanted out of Jacksonville. Came at a steep price. The Rams sent the Jags 2 first-rounders and a 4th-round pick. Breaking news. I have it in my hand. The Tuesday night top 5. Egyptian soccer. Goalie comes way out. Look at this header. But wait, he's got to get back to his goal to prevent the goal, and that's beautiful. Back to our nation's capital. Harrison Bader, a line snared by Trey Turner and the 6th inning. Turner and his teammates partying like it's 1933. Arizona Fall League 2017 #1 pick Rice Lewis blooped it to right. The #1 overall pick in 2016, Mickey Moniak, next slide and catch. A lot going on. There was shot. Standing off the moving car, off the wall, off the board, attached to the car, in for the bucket.
Oh, my goodness.
And I've seen Steph Curry take some questionable shots. Nothing like he shot. 12-year-old Myrie Harpole.
Oh, my goodness.
Backwards, no-look shot over 2 defenders, and he beat the buzzer. How do you like that? Steph, by the way, going for real a week from Thursday. We unfolded Chase Center real action against the Clippers.
Yeah, been interesting.
Can't wait.
The preseason games have been interesting.
Yeah. All thumbs up for the Chase Center so far, including the concert.
Good.
All right.
Yes, I have heard that. Okay, Dennis, thank you.
We'll be right back.
The Late Show with Stephen Colbert is up next.
Our next newscast tomorrow morning at 4:30 will detail the very latest from that fire and explosion in Crockett for you. Have a good night.